ladies, welcome back to the Girls Behind the Rock Show channel. Today we are introducing a brand new series called GBTRS Workshops. It's an educational series that is going to focus on breaking down various skills through video format to help you out in your careers and future endeavors. So today's video is going to focus on some resume building tips. We asked the GBTRS Facebook networking group what skills they would like to see covered in this series, and it seems that a lot of you are completely lost when it comes to resumes. So luckily I think I'm pretty strong in my resume skills, so I'm here to help, and I also have a couple friends that I did make through the Facebook group that have offered their tips and advice as well. So if you're looking for some great resume tips or just looking for that extra sizzle for yours, just keep on watching. Okay, so to start this video off, I'm going to just start with a resume example, which is mine, and then I'll be showing you one of the girls from the GBTRS networking group. She offered her resume. I will show you hers after this one. As you can see, mine is a little more graphically designed. I did design it in Photoshop, and I did this to make mine stand out. I just know when you're handing people the same general resume as everyone else has, like, it doesn't really stand out. I wanted something that like made mine pop so that when they're going over resumes later, they can be like, oh, remember that one? It had the purple, it had the bars. It was like, you can see that mine is a little different than the generic standard. And people's opinions on this will vary. I have some professors that absolutely hate my resume, and I have some that love it. So it's like, it all depends. But my reasoning for why I do it is that the companies I am trying to work for will enjoy seeing something like this. Like, if it's a company that thinks that this is obnoxious or this is not professional, it's not somebody I want to be working for anyway, because they're probably very old school, very old-minded, probably not interested in any growth or development. Like, I try to make my resume a test. Like, if I don't hear back from that job, whatever, I probably didn't want it anyway. But I have not heard anything bad about this from all the companies that I've handed it to. So basically, I'll show you it in Photoshop as well. This is just what it looks like finalized, and I do have it saved as a PNG here, but I export it as a PDF, and that's what I submit to people, whether it's online, through email, through their like their application page. I always attach the PDF because any computer can read it. It doesn't have to be a Mac or a Windows, whatever, anything can read it. So that's why I export it as PDF. And it's a little more professional than PNG, because PNG is definitely an image file. So there's just no way to export straight to PDF from Photoshop that I know of that's not complicated. So I save from Photoshop as PNG, and then I export as PDF. Wow. So this is what mine looks like in Photoshop. As you can see, I use a lot of these guidelines to make sure that everything is lined up perfectly. I mean, nobody's gonna like really break out a ruler and see if something's not lined up, but I like it to look as professional as possible. Mine is a little cramped right now. I do not suggest cramping yours this much. It wasn't this bad until just recently when I added in this extra position, which I love, but now my resume is a little cramped and I'm gonna have to start taking things out. I might start, I don't know what I'm gonna take out, but I'm gonna take out the things that aren't where I want to go, like probably the news reporter with Remember Media, just because journalism is not what I want to do at all. Like, I love my position there and I love my team. Hey Desiree, love you. But I'm not interested in journalism. It's not where I want my career to be. I don't want to end up in a position where I have to do journalism. So I'm probably going to take that out and nix that right off the table so nobody even says, hey, she's got journalism experience, hire her for journalism. That's not the situation I want to be in. So I have all my contact info listed up here. There's different ways to do this. You can do a Google search to see any kind of resume templates, find the style that you like. I really liked this kind of layout. Originally, I did have my photo up in this corner, but my career development advisor strongly suggested against that. He said mostly that photos should be kept for like modeling gigs and stuff like that, which totally made sense to me, so I just took that off. Like, whatever, that's not a big deal, and it gives me more room anyway. So up here I have my name, and then I have, ooh, that zoomed in really far. This is being really touchy. But I have my objective right here. So mine just simply says what I've already done. It says that I've been involved with music for the past 8 years. So that shows that I have experience. Like, I'm not fresh to this, but you don't have to, like, when I say I have 8 years of experience, I mean I started as a regular fan on Twitter with a street team for a band that I liked. It was nothing crazy serious. It was not like running the Fearless Record Street team or anything like that, but it's still experience. I still had experience with social media, with marketing, with connecting fans. It's still relevant to me. So I say that that's where my experience with music started, was 8 years ago with that. So, actually, I guess it's this year, it'll be 10 years. That's kind of outdated. I don't know. Whatever. I'll figure that out later. I guess it's like 10 years of this August, but so right now it's like 9 years, whatever. Anybody wants to do the math, they can do the math. But I also say that I've been actively involved in the music scene at every opportunity, because I do know that if you look at that and say, oh, well, her only experience was 2007, then it shows that it gapped until 2015. And that's where I've been actively in the music scene. It was basically, I started 2015 and I haven't looked back since. So that's where I say that I've been actively involved since most recently. And then I just say where my interests are. These are the 4 areas I would most like to be hired into. Like I said, I don't want to be hired into journalism. I would much prefer marketing, promotions, merchandising, or management, because those are where my interests are. Those are the fields that I can see myself 30, 40 years from now waking up and still being excited about going into work. So I showcase that so that those are the areas that people are more likely to hire me into. And then I just list out my relevant experience. I do not put everything on here. These are not the only jobs I've had. These are not the only experience I have. These are the relevant ones to music careers. I'm not going to put that I work at Chipotle, because that has nothing to do with my music career. That has nothing to do with it. It's not teaching me anything about music. It's not helping music at all. So I do not include that. The only thing that I don't include on here that would probably be really beneficial is I did like a summer temporary position I did as like a secretary in an office building, which is office experience. That is not on here, but it is on my LinkedIn, and I do describe it on like cover letters. If it's like an office-based position, I will put that in my cover letter that I do have office experience. But I just don't showcase it on this resume, because this one is strictly for my music business stuff. And that's another thing I want to point on. It is okay to have more than one resume. Maybe music business isn't all you want to do. If you want to also be in film or something, like, have another one just for film. Or you can even break it down even further. Like, I have all my music business experience on this page, but like, I could have one just for marketing and only show my marketing experience. And I could have one just for management and only show my management experience, which there's not much of that yet, so I won't do that. But I'm just saying I could. And that way it would make this a little less cramped. It would only have relevant experience, but for right now, because I am so new to the industry, I want to just showcase that I've been involved as much as I have been. So basically, I say the 3 main things that you should have on your resume are obviously your job experience, your skills, and your education, which I talk about the education later in this video, so just keep an eye out for that. But you do want to list your relevant education, and then your skills. You just want to showcase what you can do. Like mine, I have WordPress, Adobe CS6, social media, and street team promotions. And that is literally, I chose those skills because I'm looking at the marketing, promotions, merchandising, and management positions. These are the skills that are most relevant to those 4 positions, so those are the ones I list. Obviously, I have more skills than that. I also know like Google Drive, and I know iWork, and I know Microsoft Office, which those are other things that I can also state on my cover letter if needed. But upon first impression, these are the 4 skills I want them to know. Because if you want to hire me for marketing, you're going to want me to know social media, and you're probably going to want me to know WordPress, because it's a big one right now, is knowing WordPress, or even the other website designs, which I might actually end up changing this to website design, because now that I've had some opportunities to play around with the other hosts lately. So I'm now more familiar with Wix and Squarespace, as well as Bandzoogle, so I might just put general web design and list out the platforms that I know, so that people can see if they need a website designed, I'm there. But that's just my resume. Like I said, I'm going to show you another example from my friend Stephanie, and that'll show you hers. Hers is definitely a complete 180 from mine, so that'll give you guys a nice little alternate option. You'll be able to see 2 different variations, 2 completely different options, and you can pick which one you are more comfortable with and just go with what works for you. Okay, so now I want to show you guys Stephanie's resume. Thank you, Stephanie, for sharing this with us. This is probably the style that you guys are more familiar with seeing with your resume, and it probably looks similar to what yours does. What I like about Stephanie's is that she has both her LinkedIn and her Gmail right here. So right up front, she's got her name, and then she's got the ways to contact her right up front, right off the bat, so you don't have to go looking for that. And then she puts her education first, which is definitely another option. Um, like I said, it's everything's different, but what she does is she's got her education, her work experience, and then like her other involvement and stuff. So she doesn't have like set out skills on here, but all of her skills will be shown through her experience, which is another option. You don't have to have a separate skills section. The only reason I do on mine is because I know my positions are a little more vague and a little more like not as known, and the companies aren't as known. So I put my skills to show that even though you might not know this company or this position, this is what I learned there. With Stephanie's, like you can definitely see with her Pandora Radio, she's got music curation and programming experience. So that means that she knows what she's doing on streaming platforms and creating playlists and algorithms, and that's where you can see that skills are coming in. She doesn't need to come in and say that she has those skills as well, because it's right there. So I didn't say this on mine, but like, oh, mine has dates on there, but like, you should always have dates on there. And the first mistake I made on my like first draft of my resume is I didn't have the months. I just had the years to the year. Definitely put in the months there so that they can know, and always make sure that you're putting the location so that people know where you are, where you've been, if you're willing to move around. Like you can tell with Stephanie that she's willing to go all over to work. So that's something that is just shown by showing that you have done it in the past. If you're interested in moving around but you haven't had experience moving around, that is not going to be the determining factor. Like they're not going to say that, oh, you only have Orlando in here, so therefore you do not want to move. That is not true, but that's another thing that you can put in your objective, which, as you can see, Stephanie doesn't have one. That is another option. Everyone has a different opinion about that as well. Just like they have a different opinion about the design, some people don't want you to have an objective on your resume. Some people do. I have not seen any negatives either way. Like I haven't seen somebody be turned down because they didn't have an objective, and I haven't had people turned down because they do have an objective. That's totally personal preference. It's up to you how much room you have. You can tell Stephanie doesn't have that much room, so she can't really fit in another paragraph for an objective because she's got her experience out here. So it's totally whatever you're comfortable with. Do what's best for you. Just showcase what you have to offer that company. So this is just a really good example for somebody who's maybe not as comfortable going out in the graphic design, or maybe doesn't know how to use Photoshop or whatever. You don't have to learn it to have a good resume. Like this is a beautiful resume, and I guarantee you that you didn't need to use Photoshop for it. So it's like, it's all personal preference on that. There was something else I wanted to say, but I forget. Either way, this is a good resume. Yeah, just make sure that you're presenting yourself in a way that you want to be hired for. Like you can see that she's got a lot of experience here with like the music curation, and then she's also got this record label sort of experience. So that's just things that you can tell that she's interested in, and probably that she'd like to be hired for. And that's just what I want you guys to all focus on. One thing I forgot to mention was that you should use your resume to show what you're offering. Maybe that's like common knowledge, but like graphic designers should make a resume that looks bomb. Like this is plain and boring to a graphic designer. There's some crazy graphic design resumes. Let's see if we can pull one up really quick. It's just... like you can just see some of the crazy things graphic designers come up with, and that's exactly what you should be doing with your resume, because you should be showcasing what you're offering. Like you're trying to be a graphic designer, show what you can do on your resume before they even have to go look at your portfolio. Like it's just things like that. So that's one thing. Photographers, don't be afraid to include like your best image or two. Like you can find a way to put like an image over here and then do your experience on this side of the image, and then do another image down here, and then do like your skills and stuff, or what equipment you have experience with, things like that. Just showcase what you've got, what you're trying to offer. And then what are some other things? Like, just in general, make your resume stand out. Pro tip would be that during my final project, my teacher suggested printing your resume on cardstock since most people only use printer paper. And the one time I tried this, like I tried it at a career fair at school, and there was I probably like went up to like 5 different employers. I handed them my resume, and I handed them with cardstock, and it like they were super impressed with it. Like they took that resume and you just saw the change in their face. Like wow. And a couple of them even commented. So it's like that's definitely something I suggest if you're going to any sort of career fair, or even if you're just going to a position that you really, really, really want to make a big impression on. Go ahead and print it out on cardstock. Like make that paper different from the 10 other people that just went before you and the 10 other people that are going after you, because you're probably all lined up in that hallway anyway. So just simple things like that that make it different. Obviously you see mine is a little different. You're going to see that Stephanie's is more of the like cookie cutter model, and I don't want to say cookie cutter, that sounds bad, but hers is like more of the like generally accepted model. If you're only comfortable with that, you don't want to stretch out, go for that. Her style is perfect. It's like she's got the fonts lit up the right way, but I don't know if this is going to pop up with anything. I haven't done this in a long time because I've stuck with my resume style since I made it, but like you can just see things like this that generally just like it still showcases the same information but in different styles. Like I don't see this being offensive to potential employers. This would definitely be more for like graphic designers than a general resume. I would not do this for a general application because people aren't going to know where to look, but this for a graphic designer is perfect. This one's another one that's more general. Just things like literally just do any searches and find what works for you. I would suggest not going too crazy over the top. If you're looking for just like a general music business position, I would say something like this, something more like flat information in your face sort of deal. If you're doing graphic design, I would say go more above and beyond. Photography, like I mentioned, I would put a couple pictures. I don't see the harm in doing a couple pictures. Just things like that, just to show what you've got before anybody even has to click to find your portfolio or anything, before they even have to go to your LinkedIn. Like show what you have on this one page before they have to look at anything else, because a lot of the big time positions, they're not going to look at anything else. They're going to see this resume and they're going to say, is it good enough? Do I want to look at more? It's the same thing with pitching songs to record labels. Like they're going to listen to that first 30 seconds of the first track you give them. If that doesn't impress, then you're out. So take this as your first 30 seconds. This is your 30 seconds to make an impression. What is it going to say on it? So I think an important thing to mention in this video would also be to have your LinkedIn profile completely filled out as much as possible. So I'm going to show you mine for example. LinkedIn is where I like to put all my experience. Like I told you in my resume, I only like to put the relevant experience, the experience that I want to be hired for. But with my LinkedIn, I put everything, anything that I've done, because who knows, if I'm applying for a position, they might want to see my customer service skills, or they might want to see my office skills that aren't necessarily showcased on my resume because it's not in relevant industries. So LinkedIn, I put all of that. I put my headliner right here is, I always put my like most relevant position. So I have a lot of things going on right now. You can see that these these 6 positions are all present. So I like to make sure my header is like the most relevant of my present positions. Like, yeah, I'm doing all 6 of these things, but I want to be known for my social media coordination at Girls Behind the Rock Show, because that's the type of job that I'm going after, is more of those. So your summary is just like a quick about. People always have questions with what they do in their summaries, and it's the same as your objective as your resume. You want it to be something, if you have experience, state your experience. If you have like quotes from references, put your quotes. But for me, I'm still building my experience, so I just simply state what I do already and what I'm trying to do, so that people know that I'm entry level. This is the direction I'm heading in. So I also note that I'm about to move to Los Angeles because a lot of the jobs I'm applying to on LinkedIn are in LA, and I just want people to know when they look at my profile and they see Orlando, Florida, that I am moving, right? Like I'm moving, I'm able to be hired. So I do that, and then as I said, I go through all my experience, literally everything that I have going on, and then all the past. So it just like scrolls on. It seems like a lot. I promise you, I don't have like crazy amount of experience, but a lot of these are like short little term things anyway. But I just go through anything that I feel I've done that might impact an employer's decision on whether or not they want to hire me. So literally, I just throw everything on there, and it goes on for days. And then another thing that I've done, actually, one of my Full Sail teachers suggested that I do this. I put all my courses on my LinkedIn, and I also put it on my resume. And the reason that I do this is because with my degree being music business, and with music business being such a new sort of like degree that's out there, not many people know what a music business degree entails, or they're just not familiar with it, or they might think that it's just like certain topics. So I listed every single course that I took at Full Sail so people can look and see that music business taught me everything. It taught me music history, it taught me critical listening, it taught me marketing, also record label development, as well as merchandising. Like I wanted them to see that I'm well rounded and they can see that I've touched on all these subjects. So if they have a question about what I'm able to do, you see what I've done already. So that's why I put that there. It's up to you whether you want to put it or not. Because it is on my full resume, I might, because I'm running out of space on my full resume, as you've seen, like it's pretty cluttered in here, I might start cutting those classes out now that I have the experience to back up what my classes taught me. So because I have these various classes, various experiences to show that I already know what I learned in these classes, I can start like cutting the subjects out of my education portion and giving myself a little more room on my resume. But that's totally up to you. If you don't have a lot of experience, I would definitely suggest keeping any relevant courses on there just to showcase it. Always put your other languages, even if you don't know a lot. Like Spanish, I cannot hold a conversation, but I can understand it when it's spoken to me. So that's why I put limited working proficiency, but that way somebody knows that I'm capable of understanding the language if needed. Skills, these are all just random things. Of course, LinkedIn has their endorsement feature, so if you do have a lot of friends or connections on LinkedIn, you can have them endorse you. Usually people will just do it over time because it pops up on the top of your profile every time you log in, and it's just something to do to keep yourself busy. So definitely I would suggest going and endorsing your connections so they do it for you in return. That way you can see that you know all these different skills. And then, of course, education, any volunteer experience. What I realized with this is, like, people don't always fill this part out. What I've noticed LinkedIn doing is when you go to search for jobs or make connections, if you go to like a company's page, it'll say what, like, these things that I care about and these organizations I support. It'll show you on the business pages what similar employees are, like, what similar employees they're supporting as well. Like, I'll try to find one. Let's go with a big one. So yeah, let's just go with Live Nation because I think that one has one on there. Yeah, like you see, our employees support. So it shows like the things that I have in common with the employees there. So it kind of shows you if you'll fit in with that community. Like you're not going to fit in with somebody that doesn't have any same values. So that's another neat feature on LinkedIn. And then advice for contacting. Definitely fill this in. I've seen so many LinkedIn profiles without this on there. And if you're just starting out, it is so important. I obviously need to update mine because none of these emails are relevant to me anymore. But definitely put your advice for contacting so that people, if they look at your profile and think you're a good fit for one of their jobs, they can just go right there and find a way to contact you. LinkedIn is really hard to just randomly contact people. They have it built like that on purpose so that you can't get spammed. So this makes it easier for potential employers to reach out to you and be like, hey, I have this. Are you interested? That's as far as you can fill in, but definitely also make sure you're following companies that are relevant to you. So yeah, I think that's it on the LinkedIn section. And that is it. So I hope you guys were able to take something away from this, learn something, found something useful, are able to utilize this to the best of your ability. And it answered any questions you guys may have had. If for some reason it didn't, just check out the description below. You'll see my email there. You can reach out to me personally, and I will be sure to answer any other questions you may have and help you in your resume. That's pretty much all I have. Thank you for checking this out, and be sure to stay up to date with Girls Behind the Rock Show.